we were away for a couple of days, and by the way, good morning everybody. We were away for a couple of days, and when we got back from our trip visiting our son, we discovered that lots of stuff is going on in the garden, not the least of which is they need watered, obviously, but we have some animal damage, and we're very concerned about this. This has never happened for the last few years, and I believe a lot of it is because we had dogs. Some people will disagree with that, but I do think that has something to do with it. So I'm just going to take you on a little tour here of what's going on in the garden. So this is, of course, the lettuce garden. It's right next to the house. We have quite a bit of lettuce, and this surprisingly did not have any damage. Our arugula, I'm a bit surprised, is beginning to go to seed. But the dill here is starting to come up. I hope we do get some dill this year. The rest of the lettuce looks really awesome. I replanted some of this Bronze Beauty, and that's coming up. Looks like we have also some Swiss chard is coming up that we replanted. So this garden's pretty good. I don't think we have too many problems here in the cherry tomato garden. This tomato looks like it has some, we have to take the bottom leaves off. That's one of the things that we need to be doing. So that'll be a lot of work to do today. And we do have a lot of cilantro volunteering, which is quite interesting. And here we have our other tomatoes, which are growing quite well. These are the bigger tomatoes. That monster Amish paste that my son gave us is there, but I'll be trimming that, the bottom leaves off of that today. Everything looks pretty good in here. A little bit stunted on the peppers here. This is a strange, of course peppers are very slow growing, but this one just teeny tiny. I'm not sure what's going on with that one. Some of the other ones are starting to look really good, getting bigger there. More cilantro, which has volunteered. And this is where we planted our loofah. They're very slow at coming up. I'm really looking forward to some more loofah this year. Now we're getting into the place where we have issues. Do believe that something dug up quite a few of the beans. I'll start on this end actually, because these were our pole beans. I'm pretty sure that they were eaten. We don't really know if it's a chipmunk or what. With this, we have a couple, these look pretty good. But then you get down here and you've got some problems as far as pretty sparse. So the last couple rows are pretty sparse. Probably a chipmunk, maybe for this. There's been a lot of chipmunk holes. We also tend to see some nibbling, which I'll show you in a moment, of different things. We also have rabbit issues. So I'm thinking there's three animals that are in our gardens here. Raccoons, chipmunks, and rabbits. Something we have literally never dealt with before. So we'll just have to see how that goes. I do want to show you why I think there could be an issue with, well, when we came home last night, there was a set of 3 baby raccoons in our yard. So obviously we've got a raccoon issue. But we also, I saw this, and I planted watercress in a pot in my pond. So as you can see, it's been dug in. There's still some watercress in there, but it is really being dug up. So I don't know if it's going to make it or not. We're going to have to hope for the best for my watercress. So coming up to the other part of the garden, we do have a sweet potato leaf. One sweet potato leaf, just one. Hopefully more will come up. I would like to see sweet potatoes this year. That's one of the things we eat a lot of. And this next This next part is very sad because I think I mentioned we struggled with peas this year because of the fact that we had an issue with our soil, our compost we got. It was a very sandy compost. I don't know if I mentioned that we ordered, got a bunch of it. Pretty sandy, was not conducive to seeds germinating. You've got to have some compost that retains water to germinate the seeds. And so we had issues with that. We wanted to use all of our compost. We just didn't have enough, so we had to order. So here we have our pea situation, which was really lovely. And then this happened over the weekend. Now, my husband does not eat peas, but he's taken pride in this contraption. He made this trellis, and unfortunately, they've been nipped. My guess is rabbits, but they were just coming up so beautifully. They may still be salvageable. We'll see. I don't think I'm going to replant at this time. It's getting really late for peas because the other problem is it was very hot, and honestly, peas don't like the hot weather. So we're going to see what happens. If there's no peas, I will cry, but we'll make it, I guess. Planted 2 rows of cucumbers. These are doing pretty well. In this row, you can see. But this row has absolutely 0 germination. Might give it another chance. I think that I'm probably going to put in some new cucumbers that I just recently bought. Then the butternut squash. These are seeds that I saved from last year. I see that there's one there, one here, and 0 over here. I really do feel like the chipmunks have devastated my seed germination. So we're going to maybe replant some butternut squash. I'm pretty shocked. This has not happened to us before. Maybe this is just the year of the potato. But we have a lot of potatoes. So at least on the surface. Looks like we're getting some blooms there. So that'll be good. But we have, I don't think, ever had such a great production here of at least the top leaves of the potatoes. I'm not sure what we did differently this year. I think part of it may have to do with getting them in early. We also did put a lot of grass here on them that is supposed to help as well. As you layer up your grass or your mulch, that will give you more potatoes because it gives it more room to produce those tubers in the bottom. I'll go over here to Linda's garden, which is, I talked to my friend Linda, who wasn't able to put in a garden this year due to having surgery and that. So over here, we're going to look at her garden. We got issues here too. But I don't know. I just don't know what's going to happen. I'm not going to get disappointed. I was impatient in the beginning for things coming up, and now I feel like I'm getting disappointed because things aren't going perfectly. But I got to remember there's imperfection in the world. In fact, mostly imperfection. So we will just take a look at what we have here. So starting on this end, we have our pumpkins. Now, surprisingly, this I didn't see last night when we were out here. There is a pumpkin coming up here. And we have one here. And we got a bunch on this end. So I need to try to remember what variety that one is. I'm hoping that's the sugar pumpkin. And our corn is coming up. We've never, ever grown corn. And I don't know if we're going to really get anything to last, but we do have, it looks like, as you can see down here, eek, somebody's digging here. Somebody's definitely been digging. So I don't know who's doing that. Now, I'm very, very sad. This is my borage, which I used to grow like a weed a couple of years ago. Tried to grow one thing, and look at that, just nipped off. Look at that. Parsley, completely nipped off. This was actually planted right next to the chickens so they could have the herbs. But I'm pretty sure they didn't get their head that far out to eat that parsley. I'm pretty sure it's something else that did that. A little bit of trouble with the basil. I don't have a problem with them eating some of the herbs. We actually planted them just far enough away that they could have reached part of it but not kill the whole thing. I'm pretty sure, like I said, that's not the case here with the parsley. And then we have beans. These are Linda's beans. One got completely decimated there. And we have another one. We might be able to salvage some of these beans. Chamomile, eek, don't know about that. And the basil, looks like the basil's doing okay. Not so good on the peppers. Really tiny. They were pretty tiny when we put them in. The lettuce looks like it got dug up a little bit. Maybe the lettuce of Linda's will have a chance here. We have tiny tomatoes, not really expecting much here, but then I've been surprised. So, and the same here with some things. We might, on further inspection, we might be able to see some production. We'll see what happens. Okay, now this is something I did not notice last night, and I'm a little bit concerned. These bricks were laid out along the edge. Not really working that well, but we were trying to do it to keep the grass from being close to the run. These bricks were not in this pattern of disarray. And as you can see, they've been pulled out. Now, who could do this? Who? Who could do this much brick moving? I did not even think a raccoon could do that, but it appears as though something larger than a chipmunk, evidently, is messing around with the bricks. So, this is a very curious thing. Very curious indeed. If the raccoons are trying to get into the chicken run. Well, looks like we do have some zucchini coming up. We do have zucchini, a little bit here, not so good here. And this is my new variety. I don't know how you pronounce it. I'll try to pronounce it right. Rampicante. That's kind of long neck zucchini that climbs. I don't see one coming up. Now, whether that's later, I don't know. We'll have to see, but none coming up there. Take you down there to the blackberries. They are pretty good this year, I guess. I don't think they're quite as prolific as they were the last couple of years, but they are doing okay. We don't use any chemicals at all. We just stay completely organic with things, so if there are any pests or anything like that, we're not concerned because we aren't going to use chemicals anyway. But I will talk a little bit about the black raspberries up top that do have some issues. We're not going to use any chemicals, but we'll talk about what we're going to do about that. Over here, we did plant in this new raised garden bed. We did plant some bulb fennel, some Florence fennel. I do think it is coming up just slightly, but evidently there's also been something crawling around in here as well. Sometimes gardens, you just never know that you end up struggling. We'll see. We obviously put on the brassica protection this year. We've had a really good harvest of radishes, although unbelievably, they're already going to seed. But it's just been really hot. It's been in the upper 80s, so we're bound to have some problems with that. We are a little bit feeling a little bit better about the beets, although they got going a little bit late. We do have beets coming up and also rutabagas. Parsnips, I believe, are coming up as well. It's hard to tell. Really hard to see through there, but they may be coming up. We'll have to take a better look at those. And then over here we do have the other brassica bed, and these have the kohlrabi finally, love kohlrabi finally coming up. And the cabbage was doing well in the beginning, so we're not concerned about that. hopefully these covers will work. And over here, one of the things we usually have no problem with, and I think they may be coming up now finally, are leeks. I think finally we might be getting something. They look like grass when they first come up. I'm so happy that our flowers are coming up here, our roadside flowers. However, no sunflowers yet. I think they're a little bit later, but with the chipmunk issues that we're having, I'm really hoping that we can save some of these flowers. The cucumbers are looking pretty good, actually. These are Linda's cucumbers. This is David's contraption he saw on the internet in a video, and it's pretty cool. It's a bucket. And we do have some more strawberries up here. These came from our son years ago. His aren't doing very well. His are getting old, need to be replaced as well. Maybe a few strawberries in there. So strawberries need to be replaced after a while. The perennials will keep coming back, but they're not going to come back as they get old as strong. So it's better to replace them. Pretty good over here with our beans. We got black beans coming up. A lot of volunteer morning glories, I think are blue ones, and also volunteer bachelor button that were here last year. So we do have our black beans coming up. Don't see any cow peas yet, which is a little, well, maybe there is one cow pea, don't know. We also have a lot of volunteer 4 o'clocks. We do have a lot of 4 o'clock flowers there, but a lot of volunteers. And it looks like our runner beans are coming up pretty well also, so I'm pretty happy with that. Black raspberries, I was really pleased with them. Still am, however, we do have some orange rust. And this is something that I have read about because we had an issue with our former black raspberries as well. And what happens is that it is pretty devastating. It does not necessarily not able to be cured. However, I've read a few things. I'm trying to find some of the orange rust to show you what's going on here. You can actually see that it's almost rusty looking on the bottom of the leaf there. You really have to get rid of this part of the plant. We've been pulling off the leaves that are affected, and I really feel like a few things that I have read about it. There's 2 things you can do. One of the things is lime sulfur, which I have found. I also read some things about it that aren't necessarily the best, so I think I'm not going to do the lime sulfur. I also was looking into someone who uses a diluted baking soda that is also against fungus. This is a fungus, by the way, so that's what's happening here. I'm going to try spraying with a diluted baking soda, water and baking soda mixture, see what happens with that. Also, just FYI, these are the new shoots of the black raspberries, and you're to trim those off when they get to a certain height. We're going with the height of the post here, as you can see. We're going to be trimming these new shoots off. The old canes will come off after they are done fruiting. We've got quite a bit of fruit, so that's why I'm really concerned about our rust. We are going to then cut all the old canes off after the fruiting. So, and then next year that the fruit will come onto these new canes, which are, as you can see, to be trimmed back so they don't go crazy. So we're going to work on that, do a little bit of work on the black raspberries today, see what happens, make sure I get the watering done, and then assess any other damage. So quite a bit of work to do here in the garden today. I'm just a little bit trying to get back into it. I'm very glad to be home to work on the garden, but I'm also just kind of ruminating everything in my mind, what needs to be done, and want to make it so it produces as much food as possible for us. And so it's a never-ending job when you have a garden, and really you have to just enjoy it as it comes, because you're going to have a lot of work if you want to have with anything in life. Nothing comes by no work. So we will get busy and kind of show you what's going on a little bit later on. But for now, stay rooted. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.